Hey, where is he? Not here. And so, and announcing that we are recording this meeting, and I will share the agenda as soon as I find it.
That's what Paula was doing.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'll share it. Will I share it? That's a good question. Where is it?
Let's only hope.
So sad.
You should have about 3.
I got it.
Okay.
And just tell me if you do see it or not.
I see it.
Okay, and I'm going to, and there you go.
Wonderful. Anything else? I don't hear the echo anymore, so whatever happened, happened.
With your fingers. Laura, I know you're leaving, but could you come back when the presentation happens? Because I think it's important that you as developer person know it. Okay.
I'm not really leaving.
No, she's not. She can hear.
And going 4 feet.
You're gonna go have dinner. Okay, good for you.
Correct. So I will be able to hear everybody and we'll know to come back.
Beautiful. I really want you to hear the presentation.
I want to hear it too.
Right, and the possibility is he may end up going a little earlier than 7:30 because I'm just gonna briefly discuss the comptroller housing data issue.
Super duper.
Okay, so we can give you a little more time, Quincy, because we really need to know what that program's all about, even though I'm on some of your calls. But I want everyone else to get familiar with what's going on in the world. Okay?
Excellent. And what I'll do is I'll inform my partners who are also going to participate with me during our presentation.
Okay.
Caleb and Ron, to let them know that we'll be going on a little bit earlier than 7:30, but we'll make sure to be in lock in terms of that.
Oh yeah. If I don't see them, I won't, put you on the spot or anything.
We'll get everything in.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. So I'm called to order, even though 6:37. And I'd like to welcome everyone since I haven't seen you guys in a couple of you I have, but we haven't had our homelessness meeting in about a month. And I just wanted to know if anyone's approval of the agenda, everyone?
I approve the agenda.
Okay, Paula. Oh, I'm missing Hugh. I knew I was missing Hugh. Okay, so any public comment on non-agenda items?
Actually, while I'm still here,
Okay.
I attended the planning department and housing department's webinar last night on the housing element.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be the actual presentation I saw last night. I have the PDF, which I can share into Google Drive going forward, but also they will have that same presentation online soonish. It was very interesting because it looks like the majority of the their focus this time out. So this is the planning for housing Los Angeles for an 8-year period. But it looks like they have a huge focus on the housing the unhoused, and as well, the idea, let's see if I can say, remove displacement, housing protection, promoting sustainability and resilience, and planning for more of this supportive housing in high resource areas. So that, in other words, a fair share throughout the city, but in high resource areas and not just always in areas that have few resources. But the most important thing is that, and I'm reading quote, most of this is quotes, equity is to be a core part of all future land use decisions. So, I think we're probably going to want to engage not just the Planning and Zoning Committee, but this committee and maybe the Environmental Committee in this, when we actually have something to review. They're not going to issue a proposed document until another couple of months. But they also noted that they're going to meet the state housing goals for Los Angeles, they're going to need to permit 57,000 new units each year and 33,000 of those to be affordable. So I do not think that's going to be feasible, but that'll be the goal.
Each year for how many years?
This is for 2021 through, I think, 2030.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we're so far behind on the ones we have so far on the goals, and I put the comptroller's article in chat if you guys want to copy and paste it and look at that later and talking about with the money that we have for the proposition HHH. Well, with each unit being $739,000, they are what, 10,000. They supposed to, the goal was 10,000 units, and they end up with only 228 so far.
Right. May I stop the share of the agenda? Do you need it up, or can I unshare it?
If anybody want to take a screenshot of that or take a picture with the camera or whatever they need to do, you can stop it. I have one right here.
Right. I only had really put it up so you could approve it. Yeah, no, it was interesting because, again, this time out is really unique. In 2008, so that was a plan for 2009 through for 8 years. The allotment to Los Angeles was 113,000 units, half market rate, half affordable. And then it was revised downward for the 2013 till present, down to 82,000. And I understood that because the projection in the year 2008 was based on the year 2000 census and the population growth rates that they were projecting forward. But when they did a 2010 census, the projections were off the mark for LA County by 3 million. It was 3 million people too high.
Right.
And so they reduced it, but there's been a change in state law. So the overall projection for the whole county is huge. And for LA City, they're saying we have to have 455,000 new units compared to 82,000 in the last go round. So it's quadrupled. And I don't know if, I mean, in other words, these are the goals, but I don't know if they're realistic.
They're not, and the pandemic is not helping the situation at all.
Correct.
So
that's my too long public comment.
That's okay. I watched you only 1 minute over, maybe 2. But anyone else have public comment? I'll say something really quick. I went to visit a couple of the ADUs the earlier part of the week, and United Dwelling has really revamped their proposal for purchasing the ADUs now. And so it's really affordable. You have what? A single for 119,000, a 1-bedroom for 129,000, and 2-bedroom for 179. But then you have to think about it. If someone allows you to put one on their property, then how does that work with the property taxes and the equity? You know, you have to think about that. And the other thing is, if you put one on your house, then that's extra income, and it boosts your equity up about $140,000. So it's pretty interesting, and they're so cute, and it comes with all the appliances and everything. So that's a better plan than what they had before. Yes, Paula?
What does ADU stand for? Accessory
dwelling units, like a granny flat, a mother-in-law house. People have so many words and titles for it. But that is, if people were willing to do that with all the things they have in their garages that they don't use, they could have an extra income coming into their homes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is that program where you apply to the city and you can get like $70,000 to upgrade.
Yeah, that was the $75,000 that was coming from the city, but I'm not sure if that is still in place. I haven't looked it up lately.
Okay.
But I will again to see if they're still offering that. But that's what it was. Yes, Dorit.
Another item on when you guys are done with this, the winter shelter list came out. I sent it to the social media people for UNNC, and they're going to post it. But I can also send it to you, Tori. I will text it to you when I figure out how the heck to text a document.
Take a picture of it. Just take a picture of it and then text it to me like you normally text me.
I will do my best. That means I have to print it out, but
no, you don't.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, I'll walk you through it. I'll walk you through it.
So the shelter is opened. There's a couple here in UNNC is in 2 different spas. It's in Spa 4 and this in Spa 6. There's not that many in Spa 4, but there's one at Pan Pacific Park, and it's a really good place to have a shelter.
Yeah.
And there's a couple in Spa 6, much more south of us. So we've got some shelters out there.
Oh, that's good to know. What's the date? What's the official date that is going to start?
Right now until March 31, 2020. But if it's raining in March, they're going to extend it because they always do.
No, what they always do, but when's it going to start?
It's already started.
As of when?
According to the flyer, October 1.
Even with the pandemic?
Especially because of the pandemic.
Okay, so October 31st, that's normal. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. They're gonna have to social distance now. They're not gonna be able to stack them in like they normally do. So we'll see what happens. I may go visit a couple of them like I normally do and take food, and we'll see what happens. Anyone else? It is now 6:46. We're gonna move on into our round robin, even though that kind of incorporated what we have. Any current issues or solutions? What do you think about the things that have been stated so far in public comment? Anyone, any comments or questions about the ADUs, or would you be interested in going to take a tour of one? Or
I'd always like to see them, especially since you say they're cute.
Yeah, it's really, really cute. And
the guy,
you know, the guy has guy who is lending his backyard as a model. He has a very big house, but when you drive down the street, you can't even see the ADUs back there. So it's private. And it's so much so that he said, when I get older, I may move back there and let people rent out the big house. So I said, that's a plan.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Yes.
I have a relative that is homeless, and I was really considering this ADU because I know if the city gives you the money, you have to rent out to a homeless person. But I wanted to rent it out, or maybe not even rent it out, get to my relative. Would that cause a problem? Do you know?
It should not, but
I do know that if you're a Section 8 landlord, you cannot take a set. It becomes an issue if the housing authority is involved, but it just means the affidavit is on your part.
Right.
No, I definitely wouldn't be Section 8 because this is just my personal property, and he's not either.
Okay,
it would be if it's run through the housing authority, it might be an issue, but it would just mean you got to sign an affidavit. I'm guessing. I would look into it if I were you.
Okay.
But it
before you jump on it.
Dorit, that really wouldn't pertain in this particular case because Paula would just purchase the ADU outright, right? You'd purchase it with the assistance of the city.
Okay.
And see, there's a multitude of ways to do it. And so when you go and look at when you go on a tour with us, you can ask some of the questions from the company. But from what I understand is that you purchase it, the owner of the house purchases outright. Now what you want to do with it is your property. You take it from there. If you're renting to a stranger on Section 8 or something like that, of course, they have to come in and monitor and make sure everything's up to par. But other than that, it's your property.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that, just let me know after Thanksgiving what day is good, and I'll try to schedule a time for us to go visit it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Any solutions, issues? An article came out today or day before yesterday regarding Project Room Key and the success of it and how they house 4,000 people during Project Roomkey. Now this, I believe, why? Because that was the smoothest transition I had with helping people in a long time. I mean, when
They
Project
housed how many?
4,000.
Hmm.
I believe that because at the one site that I took one girl, she, it was at least, they was intaking, the entire hotel was open for them, and it was a nice hotel in Hawthorne. And, well, on the border of Hawthorne and Los Angeles. And it was clean, everything, they fed them. And it was just really nice. So it had to be at least 155 just at that site alone.
Okay.
So I imagine, and one of the homeless liaisons in the valley called me and asked me for assistance with a young lady they had. They wanted to move her to another site, but she was disabled. And she had been staying in this particular hotel where she was all alone. I said, so why can't they just do her paperwork at that hotel? The owner was willing to do it. Why take her out of her element? You know, she goes to the grocery store and everything where she was, and she's in a wheelchair. So I said, just leave her where she is if she's happy there, and get the information from the owner of the hotel and have him sign off on the paperwork. And I think that's what ended up happening, but they got her situated. So they were doing it in the valley, all across Los Angeles. So I can see they probably had 4,000. Well, we can't question that, just long as they get a process in place that's smoother than what they had been doing, you know, through the other agencies. So anything else? Any other round robin?
The shower on Jefferson at the Trinity Baptist Church is going smoothly. They are increasing their numbers each week, which is good, slowly but surely. They've got all the toiletries people need, towels. They're not doing clothes because of it's cumbersome. They do want to start having, they have like snacks and such, but they want to start partnering with folks to get more stableness of food in the future. So, yay.
Well,
but they're doing good.
Oh, that's good. I was supposed to send that flyer to Janie. Was it to Janie?
Gabby, I already sent it to her.
Okay, good. Because once everybody knows where they are, you know, when the shower moves, people move. And so once they know where everything is, I'm gonna have to print some out and give some to the ones in our parameters for UNNC and make sure they know where it is. That's another thing. When we go help the lady with the food, we can also take some of the stuff that's left or some of the boxes that they put together and take them over there. What'd you think?
It's a possibility.
Yeah, we'll see. If I empty my car, get another SUV. Oh, okay. Yeah, whenever that's gonna happen. Okay. Anything else, Quincy? Mika, feel free to jump in. Any solutions or anything you've seen lately? How about the cleanups? Everybody know you can call 311 when you see piles of stuff on any corner or any public street for them to come and clean up. I saw one today on Vermont and 73rd. They came, the truck was actually there cleaning up the area behind the auto parts store. So they're doing it as people call in to have it done, but we just got to stay vigilant about getting it done. There was another one on Crenshaw and between 59th and 60th. There's trash everywhere. I was like, my God. And there was no people there, just the trash. So I called for that. So hopefully there's not multiple people calling, but they are tracking it because I looked at my emails.
Thank you for that. I saw, well, and it keeps reappearing, trash behind the employee parking lot for West Angeles. And again, like you said, no people, just trash. Frames, trash bags. It was unbelievable. You could hardly drive down that alley. So
yeah,
that's good to know. I'm sure you know, well, I need to check with our facilities to see if they have reported it, but if not, I will.
Yeah, but even if you're reporting and somebody else reporting, they have a tracking system. So if
Yeah.
it's replicated, then the more the merrier, because then everybody's noticing it and taking responsibility to get it done.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, keep that in mind. 311, get it done. Uh-oh.
I'm actually, it's Mika. I'm actually interested in the ADU in the process and maybe taking a tour and even to see if the city is still giving out that grant money as far as,
Okay.
because I see a lot of advertisement for it and it looks really nice.
Doesn't it?
The
Doesn't
inside, yeah.
wait till you
You
see it in
see
person.
advertisement for it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
haven't seen
little,
any
it's
advertisement.
on television now, finally.
and those magazines that come by for, let me see, I have one right now. It's In-Home Improvement Guide.
Oh,
They're in there as well, but they look very nice. You know how they ask
oh,
you, do you want a new roof or floors or that whole
Oh,
type of thing? It's in there. I really like it. And then also too, I know that sometimes people don't always donate plus size clothing. So I also have bags of clothes whenever it's permittable, okay, to donate those. I have a lot.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of them we had taken close to men and children, and they have the little playground and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you know. I'm gonna go by there and see if they're even still there.
Okay.
Okay, and especially since the COVID. You know, that's actually the first time I ever took a COVID temperature check. We went to go give the clothes, and they checked our temperature before we dropped the clothes off. We didn't even have to go in there. All I was doing was checking out the
Right.
room, so I just peeked in, but they did the temperature. But I said, that's good. That was good.
Mika, this is Dorit. Could I ask you a question?
Of course.
You said they're large size, plus size women or men?
Women.
You say you're in Jefferson Park?
Yes.
You wanna go get
There's
it?
a lady, her name is Amy. She's right next to the library. You know where the library and the park is on Jefferson Boulevard?
Yes.
And every time we see her, she's always begging me for large sweatpants and large shirts for women. And she's a big girl, and regrettably, I just don't have any for her.
Okay.
I'm more
Well,
than
not-
happy to pick them up from you, or if you want to reach out to her, either one's cool.
Okay. I'll
Oh,
give you my
yeah.
information.
Yeah, and if you're hesitant, Mika, did you put I don't see your email or your telephone number in the chat?
I'll put my email in there.
Okay, and then also don't forget to pick up that email I did for the state controller, for the city controller.
You put it in the message?
I put it in the chat for everyone. That's
Okay.
just one of the reports he had done regarding the housing situation and
Okay.
what has and has not occurred lately.
Okay.
It's really, really a good article.
Okay.
Hello, all that has joined us. I think Caleb and Ron have joined us. So welcome. We're just talking about some issues and current solutions. It's a round robin style, so feel free to come on and say a few words before your presentation. Join the conversation. Ron, you're muted. Hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is, I guess I'll just do a quick intro. My name is Ron Collins. I am one of the South LA / Central LA area organizers with the Everyone In campaign. We're super excited to talk to y'all about Everyone In and kind of the work we've been doing. And yeah, so, you know, y'all will get to know me a little bit better through our presentation, but that's
Exactly. So any current issues or solutions that's not a part of your presentation yet, that's on the top of your head?
No, I think we're going to cover a lot of, honestly, a lot of ground about what, you know, some solutions and stuff like that.
Okay, sounds good. Where's, who's that, Caleb?
Hi there. Yeah, my name is Caleb. Thank you for having me. First off, it's a pleasure to be in the space with you. I'm a field organizer too for the Everyone In campaign. I work in San Fernando Valley, and I live in East Hollywood, so I also work in like Metro and Central LA. But I'll chime in on the round robin.
Okay.
Something I think is really important, I've been doing a lot of work on recently and going to neighborhood councils to hold people accountable, is decriminalization efforts, because there's lots of lots of movement in the city council trying to criminalize folks who are unhoused right now, and I'm
Yes,
not here for that. So
exactly. Yes, I disagree with that as well. And I talk about that a couple of times in a published article. I published another article last month about the homelessness and everything. And it's like, oh my God, how can you possibly even think of doing that? Just help locate the solutions, the places. We was talking about the ADUs as part of the solution to homelessness. I mean, you'd be surprised. There's people that you work with every day right next to you that's homeless, but they
Right.
have a job and they have an
Right.
income. They just
Right.
don't have enough to get your first security and everything, you know, for a rental process out here to get a place to live.
And
So,
especially now,
especially now. And
with
so,
hours being cut and people being laid off.
yes, exactly. But they work, you know, and not afraid of work. So we just have to keep everybody in the forefront and know that everyone's a part of humanity. Yeah. Okay, what time we have? 7 o'clock. We're like 15 minutes ahead of time. So, look in the chat, everyone, and make sure that you document that article from Ron Galperin. You know, he's our controller down at City Hall. He's very meticulous, he's very organized, and he accounts for every penny, I believe. And you know, here's the funny thing about understanding. When people give presentations and say things, people sometimes hear what they want to hear as opposed to what actually was said. So remember when everybody was hyped up on defund the police, etc.? Well, they took the 150 million off of the money that was supposed to go to the police. So it didn't affect the budget at all, right? So that's one of the things that he clarifies, is that they were given a lump sum on top of what the budget was, and the 150 million came from that. It didn't take anything away from what they already had. So some of that money could have gone to the housing, you know, so that's things we gotta stay on top of. Don't think that you heard, oh, they defunded some of the money from the police. They did not. It was just some taken off the top. So
Tori, I don't see anything in the chat, sweetie.
I don't either.
oh, I see it. It says from me to everyone at 6:21. Maybe I did it before the meeting started and maybe you don't see it.
That might be it because we didn't start we weren't even on before that.
I'll copy and paste it again.
Thank you kindly.
You're welcome. Okay, so here it is. You see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so now we all learned a lesson on Zoom etiquette. Don't start your chat before the recording. Otherwise, you
Before
will
the
not,
meeting.
before the actual start time. No, before the recording. Yeah, because some people have meetings and they don't record at all. So that's why you probably can see it. But now we know that if you send in a chat prior to the start of the recording, you probably won't see it. That's the plan. So we're gonna go ahead and everyone in, you wanna start the presentation in about 1 minute? Is that okay with all three of you?
That's perfectly fine.
Okay, and Quincy, I take it you're gonna start it? Are you the first person?
I can be, I certainly can.
Oh, however you guys coordinated, we're all ears.
Excellent.
For 1 second, Laura, I don't know if Laura can hear me, but Dorit, your voice is a little more clear. You want to call Laura's name?
I'm going to send her a text.
Yeah, tell her to come on and listen, or if she can hear from where she is, that's fine too. Sorry, Quincy. You can go ahead now.
No worries, and thank you very much, Tori, and also Neighborhood Council. Thank you once again for giving us the opportunity to present the information that we want to present tonight related to Everyone In has Power by United Way. Also, our particular campaign, the Everyone In campaign, is directly focused on not only addressing the issues as it relates to homelessness, but also understanding the solutions. And solutions related to what's going on within this homelessness crisis is housing, whether it be for bridge, supportive, or affordable housing. But in doing so, everyone in wouldn't be everyone in without the community at large. So the Everyone In campaign consists of various coalition organizations, whether it be nonprofit, whether it be in some instances for-profit, or better yet in some instances, whether it aligned efforts, such as with the LA Black Workers Center, Trust South LA, the Community Coalition, also our faith groups and our faith organizations throughout the community of, or throughout the communities of LA County. But specifically with Everyone In comes together to fight for the solutions that we know which works, which is supportive services and supportive housing. So just to provide some brief background in terms of Everyone In itself, Everyone In was established as of March or spring of 2018. So that's actually a continuation of the ongoing work that United Way is already doing directly with Home for Good, as well as with Home Walk as well. But in terms of what we're looking at as far as with Everyone In is a direct action or a direct campaign that directly relates to the community. So you have those in the community who may or may not know what supportive housing is. Better yet, they may not know what bridge housing is, or in some instances, supportive housing. So from our standpoint, it's strictly from an education and advocacy standpoint. One of the misconceptions as far as with the Everyone In campaign is that somehow, some way we have control of the housing, or we could say what can be housed. And that's not our stance. We don't have that stance and we don't have that authority. It works in collaboration with organizations such as HOPIX in terms of the educational component, as well as other organizations throughout the community to provide critical insight. But outside of that critical insight, gathering the necessary support for those particular sites that are being developed throughout LA County. And specifically, when we're looking at South LA is a very intriguing demographic in terms of those who are suffering from homelessness. And specifically, when we look at the numbers as it relates to those who are Black people within Los Angeles or within South Central itself, our numbers are literally through the roof. We can see that within CD10, we can see that within CD8, CD9, Inglewood, all of the local surrounding areas. But one of the things that we want to also dispel from our standpoint as Everyone is to provide the necessary education in terms of what leads to homelessness. Some people may not recognize that there are contributing factors that have existed over several years upon years and decades upon decades within our communities, whether it be related to substance abuse, whether it be for underemployment or unemployment. In some cases, gentrification, which has been a long-standing issue for like the past 3 decades within South LA specifically. So when we look at these particular issues, if we don't address that, we're liable to repeat it. So with being liable to repeat it, the necessary education in terms of what's led to this particular point of where we're at is necessary to be able to understand the solutions of why they're there. So you may want to say like, well, why don't you take everyone that's experiencing homelessness and just place them in housing? That would be a convenient solution, but the reality is that there's various issues that would have to be addressed through supportive services that are also needed in our local areas as well. That's directly dealing with mental and physical health. But also in addition to that, understanding the basics of what you need to be able to have that sustainability where you may live. You may not necessarily understand the life skills that you may need to be able to have in order for you to live in a supportive housing location. But even with that being said, you may not necessarily feel as completely adjusted to be able to live in a supportive housing location as well. So with having that critical insight and understanding in terms of the empathy that's also needed as far as to those who are experiencing homelessness, but also understanding the data as it relates to that, all of this combined puts you in a position to ask yourself, where do I want to be able to stand in terms of what's going on within this crisis, and with the understanding that housing essentially is a human right, but also what do I need in my neighborhood to be able to improve the quality of life and where it stands right now. This is where Everyone In not only comes in terms of being able to provide that critical insight, but also get people in our local areas, whether it be your family, your neighbors, colleagues, anyone to be proactive as it relates to the solutions. But I don't want to go ahead and extend myself in terms of the dialogue. Brother Ron, would you mind stepping in?
Absolutely. So thank you for that, Quincy. Really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Quincy.
So Quincy, did a really good job of kind of giving an overlay of what the Everyone In campaign is and kind of our orientation into housing. And so, a lot of the work that we have historically done has been around lobbying for affordable housing and permanent supportive housing. But I think really right now, particularly in the moment of COVID and given kind of the way that the movement for Black lives has taken off in our country, I think that we really started to kind of reposition ourselves and look at some of the work that we have been doing. So particularly lately, we were very involved in the Measure J campaign. So if folks don't know what Measure J was, it was a county measure that changed the LA County Charter to amend that 10% of county funds have to go towards basically like social services and the community, and none of that money can be used towards the carceral system, right? So this is one way we were looking at really like shifting funds from things like policing into the things that we need, like housing. And so now that we have these Measure J funds, one of the things that we're trying to do in South LA in particular is bring a lot of different voices to the table to begin to advocate as a cohesive community in South Los Angeles for some of these things, right? And so one of the things we really want to hear from the folks on this neighborhood council, and I've been talking to developers and a lot of other folks about like what are some of the needs that you all see in the community. And what's going to happen is over the next couple of weeks here, we're going to be putting together a letter for our new county board supervisor. Y'all know we have a new district county board supervisor, Holly J. Mitchell, who has been an advocate for justice in a lot of ways and seems like somebody who's really down to throw down. She was very heavily involved in the Measure J campaign. So we're hoping, And then obviously we have Margaret Lee Thomas coming into District 2, which is we all know Mark. I'm just gonna put it that way. But we do have new leadership and a new opportunity to engage folks. So one of the things that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks is putting this letter together and really trying to get as many community voices together as possible. From, like I said, neighborhood council developers. And so wanting to hear a little bit more from y'all about that piece. But in terms of how our work is pivoting, a lot of what we're really trying to do is focus on racial justice and really look at and center racial justice in the conversation around housing and homelessness, right? So one of the things that I've been saying really is like, if Black lives matter, then that means Black communities have to matter, right? And if we look at that really, you talk about Black folks are 8% of the population here in Los Angeles County, but we're 34% of the houseless population. That is ridiculous, right? And and if you look at the numbers in terms of criminalization, in terms of folks being imprisoned, it's very, very similar, right? We're a very small part of the population and a very huge part of the prison population. And so one of the things that we're really trying to do is understand where is the intersection of housing and all of those things. We know that when you come out of prison, right, it's difficult for you to find a job, which then becomes difficult for you to keep housing. And when you're on the street, that then can put you in a cycle where you are having more interactions with the police, right? And so really one of the things that we were trying to do in respect to that is really understand how racial justice fits into the whole spectrum of housing and where we, particularly as a United Way, can start to fit into some of those larger conversations. So I'm gonna stop there. And Caleb, did I miss anything?
Now, you were going so fast, like you was racing against the clock. I was like, no.
Please, I do know that I tend to talk really fast.
Time so and I was keeping up, so that's it.
If folks want me to go over back anything, I do know I tend to talk really fast.
No, we have till 8 o'clock. You're on good timing. So I just, if you have anything else to say, you feel free to come back, or you and Caleb collaborate, figure it out. We'll work it out. That was wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know that I have much more to add. I mean, I think Quincy and Ron pretty much covered it. I mean, the only thing I guess I would add, just maybe generally speaking, is, and I'm sure this is something you all are already thinking about, is like, production is such a large part and is like the focal point of obviously like what we do at United Way, but obviously we need to be thinking about, other solutions. And what I mean is like tenant protections and like thinking about what that means through the paradigm of a life experience in a pandemic, right? And now folks are, as I heard you all talking about when we got on the call, jobs right now, it's people are laid off, they don't have work, it's not safe to go to work. We see, cases of COVID soaring again. And so folks don't have protection. You know, we have an eviction moratorium that a lot of these council members keep trying to, you know, tout as some sort of protection, but it's like, that's just a delay, right? It doesn't do anything about the debt. It doesn't do anything about any of it. And to go in line with what Ron and Quincy are saying, this is something that still is a racial justice issue because it disproportionately is affecting Black and brown folks. So that is a problem. And we need to be thinking about that. We need to be talking about it. But otherwise, I don't really know I have anything else to add. I feel like Quincy and Ron did such a great job. So
You
I just
have
be curious.
plenty to add, Caleb. You know why? How many emails do you send out in a month? I know I get emails from you so often. I'm like, Caleb, here's Caleb again. I am on your email list. I said, there's Caleb again. So how many
One of the things I
emails
want
do
to do
you
with the
send
last
out?
portion, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
With the last portion is really to open it up to y'all, to you folks, one, to see, and I'm going to be taking notes here, like one, what are some of the issues around homelessness that you see in your community, right? And then two, are there any solutions that you have like heard about that you're really interested in advocating? And really, again, the reason that I'm throwing this out is because I will be coming back to y'all in the next couple weeks with a letter asking y'all to sign on to it for our new county board supervisor and our new council person.
Okay.
So in regards to that, what are some of the things, again, like what are some issues that you all are seeing in the community? And then also what are some, if you've heard of some solutions that you think could work in the community that haven't necessarily been like operating in the community, that'd be great to hear about too. But I'm gonna shut up and hear from y'all.
Now, I wanted to ask how many, okay, you're in San Fernando Valley. What other area?
So I work in CD8 and CD10.
Okay, you're CD8 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, San Fernando Valley.
Yep. And then
And
also
where's
like,
Quincy?
I'm out of CD8, CD9, as well as some of CD10, also in addition to that CD15.
Oh, you're in
And we
Mitchell,
work
and
in
Mitch,
all of Council District 2, sorry. I mean,
Okay.
the county district 2.
right, the county district. So you're in Mitchell Farrell's area as well, or is that Rue? Well, it's not Rue anymore.
that's
Oh.
me. I'm working more over so in like Mitch and Ruse, now Nithya Raman's district, and then all through San Fernando Valley. So Blumenfield and Nuri and Monica. And
That's a pretty big area. I jotted down a couple of questions. Like how many, I mean, this pertains to anybody on the call. How many rooms do you know are available right now?
Well, to be very explicit about that, that may vary depending on each area. And then also keep in mind too, is that in some instances, each location, and and then you got to keep in mind that South LA is a little bit different than would it be for West LA or East LA or whatever area it may be. So that literally varies depending on what's available at that particular moment.
Okay.
And then also to keep in mind too, there's the coordinated entry system that's also through LAHSA, through the County of LA. And that's a process that normally those who want to be selected to be able to be placed into housing, they would have to go through that process first before anything could actually be admitted as far as with housing.
And
So,
what's the average turnaround time from time you meet the person to once they get into the CES to placement?
Yeah, that actually depends.
Is there an average?
It really all depends. I could really say on that. In some instances, it could be overnight. In some instances, it could be the following week. In some cases, it could be a month. And in some cases, it could be 3 to 6 months. And in some cases, a year. So it literally truly depends on each area, but also depending on availability as well.
Right. Okay. And
I was just gonna say, I can tell you the folks that I know that are like my friend Ashley Bennett, who like works with Ground Game LA and does a lot of work also with folks at Doritos, like over like in Sela and whatnot. Like we're looking at averages of like folks getting identified, even folks who are COVID vulnerable, who have, are immunocompromised or whatever. It's taking anywhere from like 3 to 6 months. Now, city officials would tell you it is something completely different. They would say, oh, it's taking, a month, and on average, that is not the case. Like people that are ready to move in, COVID vulnerable, it's taking really long because there's just not enough. There's not enough.
I can tell you from the 30 years I've worked in homeless services, it takes about 18 months from the time you first meet somebody on the streets And that's because it takes a long time to get somebody to be comfortable with you. It takes about 18 months. But once they're in the queue, once they're in CES, it's about 6 to 9 months.
Right.
And it'll change now. It'll take longer for some people, and it's going to be shorter for other people, depending on how close they are to a freeway.
Right.
And that's the whole Judge Carter thing. Could I ask another question, guys? Infill development. Remember that project in Echo Park, the infill development they were going to do that everyone in supported? Are we looking at any infill development in South LA, any projects like that might be happening? Because that seems like a really great idea, instead of trying to buy 3 or 4 parcels, to just buy the one oddly shaped parcel and build there.
To my knowledge, there's actually this one project that's being supported by Clifford Beers. If anyone is familiar with the location off of Imperial and I believe it's Broadway, they're actually using an innovative idea to actually build housing literally with some of the cargo carts that we normally see.
Yeah.
And those are being cleaned out and literally being remodeled, have supportive housing. And that's going to take place. The opening for that, if I'm not mistaken, will be sometime next year. I don't have the exact date, unfortunately, but that particular project is taking place as we speak.
You know how many units that is?
If I'm not mistaken, it's 60. If I'm not mistaken, it's 60, but I probably would have to be given a much more clear answer from Clifford Beers as far as with that development.
Yeah, Clifford Beers also has a nice spot on King and Vermont, between Vermont and Budlong. That's really nice.
Right next to McDonald's.
Yes, we took a tour there. It was great.
So anybody else who's from area, sorry, if I could just finish my question, is there any other infill developments that you guys know of, or that you guys could start like advocating for in this area?
There is actually a couple of locations. One is off of 70th and Broadway, 7001 Broadway. That's one location. Another location is off of 89th Street in Central. That's another location. And as far as with another location within immediate proximity, I have a complete list. I wasn't prepared to provide that, unfortunately, at this point, but I can provide that to anyone who may inquire, and I can forward it to you.
I like it.
I'll send you an email, okay, Mr. Quincy, and I'll request it, okay?
And then you'll send it to us to read.
I'll definitely share.
Okay, sounds good. But you know, the question, the 70, oh, Paula, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just want to clarify, did he say carport?
Cargo containers.
Did you say, oh, cargo? Okay, thank you.
Like at the San Pedro ports.
Yes, the big containers.
Yeah. Ron,
Okay.
somebody wanted to say something. Ron, Caleb?
Well,
Ron?
I'm gonna say that that's good to know that like the infill development in particular is something that interests folks, because again, as we're putting together like advocacy materials and things that we want to be advocating for at either the city or the county level, if those are things we want to see in the community, that's just good information.
Yes. There's a couple other things I was gonna say. The place on 70th and Broadway, it's in development now?
It's been proposed. It's actually that particular property, it's in development. It's privately owned as well. So so as far as with that, that's also in progress as well.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. It was one right there. We went to check it out, and it was for like single moms only. It's right there, Broadway and 70th as well. So I don't know if that's a connectivity or next door or what.
That may be a separate story.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. Oh, interesting. So,
Tori, can I jump in? Because I'm trying to raise my hand because I don't have the blue hand.
oh, okay. Yes, Laura. I couldn't see on my screen. Let me go that way.
Oh, no, that's okay. So Clifford Beers is working on a project with UNNC, but the Planning and Zoning Committee, not the Homelessness Liaison Committee, in our community. So we've had the co-chair and I've had multiple Zoom meetings with the folks from Clifford Beers, And in the course of that, so that project will be the retention and restoration of a historic house in an overlay zone, and then the construction of 22 units. Or maybe the construction of 20 units and 2 units in the house, something like that, but a total of 22 units of permanent supportive housing for those who were previously homeless. But in the course of having these meetings, we're trying very hard to figure out how to save other of the character houses in this overlay zone. And what Christian is from Clifford Beers is telling us is they would buy them all up and put people in them right away because they're houses, they have bedrooms, they have rooms, but they're not being allowed because of state and federal laws. They can't use the vouchers to do that. And it just does seem to me that it's impractical to not, I mean, it's practical and impractical to not allow the use of these big old houses to house people. And what law is it now that's different than the laws of 30 years ago, where we had many of these houses were group homes, boarding cares, and why can't they still be used like that? And these are in multifamily zones. And what Christian was saying is they could do it real fast if they could do it at all, but they can't. So it might be something your group should also look into, because there's got to be a way to have more rapid housing or rehoming.
I know one of the things is petitions from the neighbors. I know that's one thing.
Well, that's in opposition. I mean, but that's not the problem. It's the ADA, I think, is the problem, or that vouchers are funded federally. I mean, I'm not sure of all the technical details, but maybe we can fix that, is all I'm saying.
Is that with Michael? Are you working with Michael?
Me?
Yeah, with that project?
No. We're working with Doyle and the head of Christian, I can't pronounce his last name, Arhumad, but
okay.
He's the head of Clifford Beers.
Right.
So we're I mean, we meaning UNNC, Dorit was there. They did a presentation as well a couple weeks ago at Planning and Zoning.
So maybe we could ask the folks from Everyone In if you guys know about any changing rules or ways that we could use some of our beautiful old buildings, beautiful old houses here for boarding houses, or I know Housing for Health will do that, but do you guys have any other links of ways that we could save our beautiful treasures that are in this part of town and still help provide housing for folks? So if everyone
in terms of that, like one of the things that we can always do is if there are specific sites and specific folks interested in that, we can help to connect folks with the city and to advocate for that. And then I'm not I just started necessarily doing housing justice work, so I can get a little bit more into the weeds around what are some of the ordinances that keep that from happening, and then and figure out maybe if there is a specific city or county ordinance or something that we can work towards changing in order to make that happen in just in the realm of housing, because that seems if that's a big thing, obviously you guys have been talking to the developer, and if they're oh yeah, this is an issue, then that's something that we can definitely look into.
Yeah, that would be great. So can you do that and get it back to myself and Dorit and make sure we can help you stay on top of that with our new officials coming in?
Absolutely.
So it would be basically turning our reinstating rooming housing, allowing owners of these big, beautiful homes to be able to turn them into rooming houses for not just homeless folks, but say young guys just out of college who need to find a cheap, inexpensive place to live while they're making their way in the world. That would be a good thing to ask.
Dorit, that can happen already. I mean, there's been court cases. The issue is, what Christian was telling us is that the issue is a Clifford Beers organization cannot use the available funding to fund the individual unhoused people, vouchers or whatever. That funding is not available to them to put the people into the homes. It's I mean, Ron's shaking his head yes, and I think it's an ADA issue among other things. So, but we need to find a different funding source if that's what it is, so that there's local vouchers and not just federal vouchers or whatever.
What'd you say, Quincy?
More than likely, that would have to be privately funded.
Right.
One of the things that often happens is that when you look at like that kind of particular housing, like you want to make it like part affordable, then you want to make it also part supportive. There's a lot of rules and regulations that you would have to look at on both ends before anything can really truly be established. And then also funding that can also come with that as well. More than likely, if you're trying to look into tapping into any of the funding that's either through LA County or the city of LA, there's specific, like I don't have them in front of me, but I know that there are specific laws and regulations before you can actually have that established. But then also you got to take in consideration as well as that with the supportive services you're planning to have on the property, that also has to be permitted through the county of LA as well. So it's literally a lot of work that would have to be done before anything like that could be established. And you would have to have all of your rules set before any funding can actually come through, or better yet, even be approved for.
Right.
That's interesting because I know about 54 beds, 54 to 60 beds that's available right now. But we tried to get her to do a contract with OPEX or one of them, and they just take so long. You could have had people in those beds like that if, you know, it just, we got to come up with a different solution. Because I've run across a couple of people that's been waiting 10 years for a voucher, 5 years for a voucher. I mean, it's just unheard of. When we could, I mean, if they had such success with Project Room Key, we need to replicate some of that process and get people housed.
Well, if you're talking about Section 8 vouchers specifically, that's something else that would be totally
that's something
different.
else. That's something totally different.
Yeah.
But they have city vouchers and they have the county vouchers. Now, I have a friend who owns a building in Inglewood. Now I think Inglewood can take some of the LA City vouchers now because they weren't having as many. And so they finally opened it up so people can use some of the Los Angeles or the county vouchers.
Yeah.
So there's some solutions being gradually changed or coming into fruition, but we just have to keep our ears open and see how we can make some changes to it and help the greater. Because I mean, 151,000 homeless?
You want to put an asterisk next to that.
Yes.
And the reason why I say put an asterisk next to that is that you still have an abundance of those who haven't been counted as of yet as being technically homeless.
Yes.
And also with that being said too, there's always this turnaround number that we're always seeing throughout the years.
Yeah.
In terms of those who are experiencing homelessness.
Yeah.
But also one of the things that we got to keep in mind is that because of the numbers right now with specifically for what's been going on with the pandemic throughout this year, it actually really may vary.
Yeah.
So that's something that we definitely want to be able to keep in mind is that any number that you may see, that's the number of the folks that have been counted because you still have an abundance of those that haven't.
That's true. Oh, I always keep that in mind. We don't count those on couches, those on floors, people lending a bed for a week or two. You know, all of those are missed when we do the counts in January because they're not out. You know, they have a roof over their head, but they're not considered to be housed.
Yeah, and that's the misconception that we also clarify as being a part of our trainings for everyone in is that anyone anyone can literally have a roof over their head or be sleeping in a room or sleeping in the garage or sleeping on a couch. And if your name is not on that lease, technically you are homeless.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Oh, this is fantastic, you guys. Ron, Dorit?
Everyone in, guys, is there anything that you would like our community to think about and maybe help us get the housing we need? We have, we are a community that cares a great deal about our architecture and we care a great deal about our people. As some of you know, I'm from Silver Lake, which was a very NIMBY community. Down here, you won't find a NIMBY. You're hard pressed to find any NIMBYs in this community. Everyone cares. Every one of our neighborhood council meetings, it really seems to be more about affordable housing. No one is talking about luxury housing. Nobody wants it. So this is a community that cares. So if you guys could keep us informed of ways that we can help you, Keep us in the pipeline of different things that are going in front of city council. You know, we do have neighborhood councils can do community impact statements, and we even have a community impact committee in this neighborhood council. So keep us just let us know what's going on. And of course, I'm not speaking for the whole neighborhood council because I'm one of 23 members, but we can bring it to the board and we can bring it to the right committee to vote on. So keep us informed about how we can help, if you all don't mind, okay?
And one of the things that I think is kind of running that folks can do is if there are specific sites in your community where you like know that like, hey, this is like a big empty house and there's like developers in the community that are looking at it and we can get that juice, like those are the kinds of things that already, you know, that are pretty easy to do in terms of like advocating for that with your city council person, right? So if you're like, hey, there's a, you know, that there's this one specific lot, we know that Clifford Beers is interested in it, can we work something out with the city to start, you know, getting folks housed in these kinds of things? It's not always easy, it don't always work out, but those are just like really easy ways in terms of like, as you're looking around your local community, that we can always try to push our elected officials to do.
Yeah, and also anyone who wants to be on Everyone In's database for their emailing. I just got one today from Chelsea Byers. So everybody's on their job for sure at Everyone In when it comes to keeping in touch with the community. So anyone who's interested, put your email in the chat and Ron or Caleb or Quincy take it.
Yeah, I will go ahead and select everybody's email if you want to just go ahead and drop it in the chat.
Right.
That would be great.
Yeah, so everyone can stay abreast of what they're working on. I don't know how many Measure J emails I have right here.
Hey, Tori,
Yes,
people who want to post in the chat can only post to either you or me. But
that's
then,
true.
but
Give
then
it to me
if
and
you
I'll
post
send it to,
Tori, she can send it to everyone.
yes. I can send it to so Ron, how about Ron and Quincy and Caleb? I have yours. Send me your emails. Are they all the same ending?
Yeah, so yeah, I'll just send it to you right quick.
Okay. And then I'll send it to everyone and they can respond and get on the list. So that would be great. So that'd be, I see Hugh Moore. Hugh, do you have any current issues or any questions for Everyone In? Any concerns, solutions, ideals?
I would like to see more direct action taken at the city council for their failures. I think that we need to be speaking directly to them at every city council meeting. There should be someone there in public comment saying you have an abysmal failure. The public gave you billions of dollars with Proposition H how many years ago? I'm amazed that there isn't more direct action being taken at those leaders. I can't imagine a community deciding to tax itself at the realm of billions of dollars to help our community members and then have nothing to show for it 3-4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how to do that. I wish I knew the answer, but not a single one of those people should ever be reelected.
Well, homelessness fell under Mr. Harris Dawson at one point, and then they moved it to Councilman O'Farrell. There is a movement as far as accountability. However, you're correct. Someone from each organization probably should be there at every council meeting, but that's up to us to organize, right? Ron, Caleb, Dorit, everyone, we need to just start making that a priority. And especially
I will say that
one
of the challenges that we've found, obviously, is through COVID. We wanted to be a little bit more direct with the city council, especially given some of the things that have coming up lately. But yeah, if you're interested in helping us get active and figuring out how to make a presence for ourselves online, that in terms of in the virtual world, we are all for it. We're definitely trying to galvanize our elected officials into doing the right thing, because we know, especially right now, that they are not necessarily where they need to be.
Right, but since we have some changes coming up in January, for sure, we can organize something where each of, we all belong to other organizations. When you get your message out that you want out, or something you're working on in particular, we can all assist with that.
And one other suggestion that I would put out there, because this is a neighborhood council, is there a homelessness liaison that's on board?
That's me.
Okay, so so one of the things I would definitely brainstorm on this for you being a homelessness liaison, with each of the neighborhood councils that are also underneath, in terms of looking at that, look to see what homelessness liaison represents everyone, and literally create like a coalition of homelessness liaisons who are directly tied into not only this, but also looking at certain things in their certain area. And then when you have these when you have the council meetings that happen, this is where you can literally have that out. Everyone should literally be informed about whatever activity or whatever development is taking place within their areas. It's like literally when you set up that coalition just amongst the homelessness liaisons within the neighborhood councils, that literally will give that understanding to be able to say, well, we're all collective, and also we're all aware, and also we're willing to take action from our own individual standpoints to be able to go forward.
Right.
So
that's something that you're interested in, Ms. Tori. That's definitely something that me and Quincy can help support you in terms of getting, in touch with some of those other neighborhood councils, setting up Zoom meetings and all like that. So we definitely.
That's something we did ask for last year. And we do have, before COVID, we were all meeting together down at Deaton Hall. And they had brought us, don't get me started on that. But we had come together, but we gave our solutions, but we didn't ever know or get the proper feedback as we should have to see where we were with those suggestions. So that's happened about 3 times now. Was it last year? 2 or 3 times last year. And then they kept switching people and staff. And so we do have 99 neighborhood councils, and not each one of them have a homelessness liaison. A lot of people not really rolling up their sleeves, getting out there like that, but we can make the suggestion that they should, and we can start collaborating the list together so we can have separate zones. But Laura maybe needs to fill me in on, maybe there's a rule about coming together like that with the neighborhood councils. Is there any reason why we shouldn't be able to do that?
I'm sorry. There's no reason why it can't be pulled together, but doesn't Dunn run a sort of citywide neighborhood council?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. There's no reason why the liaisons can't, for example, because it's from council to council to council, there's no Brown Act violation. You could start it, for example, a Facebook group. That's what we did for neighborhood council chairs and presidents. We have a Facebook group. Yeah, and since we're not in the same neighborhood councils, we're not violating any Brown Act. Right. But we have come together, but it wasn't Dunn running it. Dunn was present, but they didn't run it. The mayor's office ran it.
Well, I'm saying you can run it yourself.
Yeah, I know. That's why, Ron, I would be interested in us doing that. Yes.
Yeah. Just like Slank does it for South LA neighborhood councils, you don't want neighborhood council themselves to be in power of it, because then they're going to control it.
No.
Like you already saw. Definitely organize it among your own.
Yeah.
And that way you have much more power, especially with the Everyone In folks and other agencies out there that can help.
Right. I mean, the key thing is to make sure it's across the boundaries of neighborhood councils and not within a neighborhood council, because then you start having Brown Act issues of too many people on one neighborhood council.
Right. I understand.
Right.
Because we probably would inundate that. So yeah, yeah. So Ron, yes. Caleb, yes. I would be interested in us working together and doing that, making that happen. Hardly anyone's answering the phone right now. But I mean, with COVID, I don't know when they're in, when they're out, when they're, but we just leave messages and send emails, and we can make something happen.
Right.
Sounds good?
Excellent.
Thank you all so much for your time. This was great. The energy was awesome. I'm so glad to see that there are folks out here outside of organizers who are really thinking critically about solving homelessness in their community. It gives me a lot of hope. We deal with neighborhood councils on the west side that are not anywhere near this fun and diverse a group of people. So I really appreciate.
Oh yeah, we do a lot of things.
Well, but I do have to say, in a little less fun and a little more bureaucratic wonkiness, you mentioned you're going to have a letter or something that you might want us to sign in on. So that obviously that ends up being very bureaucratic and how to agenda it. So you can, Tori will give you my contact. I think you already have it. We should talk offline about how to do that.
Right. The petition.
Well, whatever it is, a letter to sign on to. I mean, it's not as easy as you would hope. Let me just say that.
Oh, we know.
I totally understand.
Just not as easy as you would think or would hope. And also, it would have to include the city council people. It can't just be to the supervisors, because then we're not allowed to do it at all.
Oh, it's definitely going to be to both the city and the
Right. So, but anyway, I'm just saying it's just more bureaucratic than you would ever hope.
Oh yeah, we understand.
Well, yeah, I'll definitely make sure I collaborate with y'all so we can make sure we get that in process. But again,
Okay.
thank you all so much. This was a really awesome space this evening.
Okay, one more question. Mika, did you want your email to go to everyone in as well?
It can, yes.
Okay, and okay, that'd be great. And I'm getting your telephone number off just in case. So did everyone get the controller's email article?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well,
I want to say thank you, Ron and Quincy, for coming tonight. It was great meeting you guys. I don't think I met you before. And Caleb, always fun working with you. And thank you so much for responding when we asked you to do this. It's really great. Like I say, this is a great community, and I know we'll get some support. We just need to know what's going on. So keep getting us information, especially when it's in our boundaries in the South LA area, or even mid-city, because we have some area in mid-city as well.
Right. So I have another question for them. How is the coronavirus affecting your outreach?
Very good question. So as far as with this, one of the things that we have to look at is that interacting with people, whether it be through Zoom or interacting with them by phone, there's various ways that you can do that in an interactive way, by email, by text, phone, visualize, whatever the case may be. There's some barriers.
All right.
But while there are some barriers, we have been successful in different ways in terms of this. As a matter of fact, Ron and I, we actually were co-hosting an event for Stories from the Front Lines, and that was actually a digital version of what we normally would do for Stories from the Front Lines, and that would be an event. Now, that particular event was supposed to take place at camp, but COVID hit. So COVID hitting, that literally put us in a little tight space where we had to kind of brainstorm to see what other interactive way that we wanted to be able to engage with people. And we did it digitally, and it was successful. But while it was successful, there's nothing like the interface direct communication with those who are a part of the community to be able to engage with them on a much more profound level versus doing it digitally. So we've been successful in different ways as far as with our campaign in terms of that, but also just to keep in mind, one of the things that we have to be able to understand is that this is not going to last forever.
Right.
And outside of it not lasting forever, we have to make sure that people are still interactive as much as possible to what we do, but also to be interactive in terms of what people are going through as well.
Yes.
So it's a balancing act, but it can be done.
Yes, it can be. But what's your direct interaction with the homeless population?
Well, in terms of that, that varies. In this case right now, there's not much interaction on that level.
Right.
Depending on which person representing whatever region it may be. In some cases, like we're doing like some sort of outreach at a particular church or a particular event, you may have someone that may be homeless, may come to us, that may want to speak with us about looking into housing, but overall just seeing what we're doing as far as with everyone in. So in terms of that, there really hasn't been much interaction with those. And I'm speaking from my standpoint specifically. Ron may have something different, and Caleb may have something different, but in terms of my own interaction, there hasn't really been as much, to be honest with you.
Okay. Caleb, Ron, same?
Well, no, I mean, I do some work with Street Watch. So I do a lot of like going to these sweeps, like in special enforcement zones and things like that, and observing the actual day of, we're going to call it an eviction, because that's what it is. Pretty violent. It's pretty nasty.
Right.
So through that work, I mean, I end up doing a lot of direct work with folks. And what's cool about it, there's nothing cool about a sweep, but what's cool about the community organizing aspect of it is that we met a lot of really amazing people who were leaders who, like, for instance, today with Bob Blumenfield, we had a meeting with him.
Oh, okay.
And this lady that we met, who she keeps getting harassed and at Etna or on Etna Street in Van Nuys, like literally every week, and they never know. She was on there today and was like telling her story. And it was really powerful because also she's amazing. She formerly was a social worker and intimately understands the system. And it was just a really cool moment of empowerment to be like, you know what, like, it's really rough right now, but I just wanted to share that just because, like, I think that's something that, like, sweeps are awful, but, you know, it's cool to know that through showing up when we can, you know, people are able to then get empowered in other ways.
Yeah, I saw one in Hollywood, and it was just really bad because you don't really know if they're being posted 72 hours or however many hours legally they're supposed to post to let them know. Then their medications and things that you need, you know, you don't know what's happening. So there was a question I had asked City Hall at one point and asked, what are you doing with their items? They said they were storing them in lockers downtown. I said, so you're telling me you're taking them out of the dump truck and putting them in a storage? I find that hard to believe. So I said, I literally watched myself put it in a garbage truck. I said, unless this is a clean, specially used garbage truck, I can't imagine you putting it in a locker. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we have to hold everybody accountable for. And it is just some unfairness. But there's an organization called Anchors of Hope I want you guys to get involved with too. Those are primarily the churches around who have resources to help people. And it's really, really structured very well. And so I'll send you the email of the person that runs that and see what we can do. And then I put an article, published an article this week with the homeless. This is how you like that red tent. So we put an article in about homelessness, like I said, last month, and I'll send you guys that as well and see if you have any input or what we can do to make things better for everyone. Okay, and I thank you all again, everyone, for attending. We have 8 minutes to 8. Sounds like an infinity number to me. So you guys keep in touch. Caleb, I know you will.
This Tori knows.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you all.
Okay, Hugh, we'll make that happen with City Hall, won't we, guys? Everyone, let's get it together. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dorit. Thank you, Quincy, Mika, Paula.
Nice to meet you.
Let me know when you guys are available to take your tour. Laura, I know you gotta wait for me. Hugh, give me a call.
I am still here and I've got to wait for you so I can also launch the communications committee meeting. So
Exactly. Okay, we're right on time.
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful. Okay.